Good evening, Mercer Island community. My name is Jessie Bond, and I am the city manager of the city of Mercer Island. This live broadcast is being recorded on Monday, July 8th. Joining me this evening is Mayor Salim Neese, and we are here to provide you with an update on the city's water supply and also provide you with a call to action to immediately reduce water use. We have a slide deck prepared. Give me just a moment and we'll start screen sharing. Again, for those of you that may be watching the recorded version of this, it is 6:00 p.m. on Monday, July 8th. And we are here this evening to provide an urgent call and ask our community, the residents and businesses, to conserve water immediately. And I may need some there we go. With warmer than average weather conditions, the water use on Mercer Island has spiked and is unfortunately significantly outpacing our water supply. If our water use continues at these high rates, the levels in our water reservoir tanks will fall below the fire band, and I'll explain in just a moment what that means. That is a serious concern, and it impacts our ability to fight fires. It essentially reduces the pressure in the fire hydrants around the island. If we fall any further below that in our reservoir tanks, we may also incur water quality impacts. Next slide, please. So I'll just remind the community that in early April 2024, a leak was detected in the main Seattle Public Utilities water supply pipeline. That's inside that red circle on Southeast 40th Street. The pipeline was shut off for repairs, and those repairs are currently underway. Next slide. Since that time in early April, the city is receiving water from Seattle Public Utilities through our own water supply backup pipeline. This is often referred to as the Canyon Line. It runs along East Mercer Way. And the thing to note about this backup line is it's only 16 inches in diameter compared to the 24-inch line that provides water normally. Since June, the city enacted voluntary water conservation measures, and that's again because the capacity of the Canyon Line is much smaller than the main water supply line that we're normally receiving water through. Current water use is outpacing supply, and water levels are falling, which is why we're here this evening recording this broadcast. Obviously, it's due to some very, very hot weather in our region. We know that is the reason that water use has gone up so considerably. Unfortunately, that spike in use is depleting the city's reservoir tanks. We must reduce water in the next 24 hours to avoid mandatory water restrictions and prevent what could really be a severe water emergency. Just to walk through a little bit about our reservoir tanks. When the water comes onto Mercer Island, we store it in two 4 million gallon reservoir tanks. Those tanks are tippy-top full at 29.5 feet. Since April, since we've been running off of our backup water supply line, the city and Seattle Public Utilities have been coordinating to make sure that we're receiving water enough to fill the reservoir tanks as quickly as possible. And I won't explain how all of that works because we're part of a regional system. So when we're drawing a lot of water, it means somebody else may be receiving less. But typically what has been happening is we catch up the reservoir tanks at night when everyone is sleeping, and that's the lowest water use period of the day. Up until this weekend, we've been able to refill and catch up the water reservoir tanks daily. Unfortunately, the hot weather, particularly in the last 36 hours, has placed an extreme burden on our system. The reservoir tanks, as of right now, are sitting at 26.5 feet. And the thing that I want to make sure everyone understands is that we were not able to catch up our reservoir tanks today, July 8th. If our use continues at the pace that we're going, we are going to continue to draw down our reservoir tanks. This is important because at about 19 feet, when the water levels in the tanks reach about 19 feet, That is what we call fire band. We need the water levels in those reservoir tanks to stay above 19 feet to maintain adequate pressure to power our fire hydrants and our fire suppression systems on Mercer Island. So if we continue to draw down at the rate we're drawing right now today, we are going to cross fire band in the next 24 to 48 hours. This is a graphic that a snapshot of our system, our water supply system that we took at 6 o'clock this morning, and this is a lot to look at, but I think it's important just to see the data that we're seeing. So the first thing I'll point out is where you see inlet flow and outlet flow. At 6 o'clock a.m. this morning, the city was receiving about 2,300 gallons per minute from Seattle Public Utilities. We can go all the way up to 2,500 gallons per minute, but it really depends on what's happening in the system. Our use at 6 o'clock a.m. was 7,000 gallons per minute, which is extraordinarily high. Speaking with the water team, it is rare that we ever see a spike that high in our system. So we are using a lot of water. That is likely attributed to irrigation systems kicking on. A normal morning use is about 4,200 gallons per minute. So again, really extraordinarily high use this morning. What we can see happening at 6 o'clock a.m., and this did level off midday, that blue line is the level in our reservoir tanks. So you can see it's steadily dropping. It has gone up just a teensy tiny bit today, but we have not been able to catch up the tanks. So we've been sitting right around 26 feet all day today. Something else I'll point out, I mentioned earlier that we catch up our reservoir tanks overnight. And from midnight to 6 o'clock a.m. this morning, water use on Mercer Island was 1.2 million gallons. We used 1.2 million gallons of water from midnight to 6 o'clock, which is just too high. It's not allowing us to restore the reservoir tanks or catch up. Again, we think that's likely attributed to irrigation systems kicking on due to the really extremely hot and dry weather. The other thing I'll point out is this graphic provides a snapshot of what happened yesterday. So on July 7th, community water use was over 3.5 million gallons. At maximum supply, when everything's working in our favor regionally, the city is receiving approximately 3.1 million gallons of water per day through our backup water supply pipeline. So all of this data just illustrates in a couple different ways that usage is far, far exceeding our supply, and we're in a really concerning situation right now. As I've already said, and I think it's worth repeating, during the last 18 hours, the city has not been able to catch up the water in the reservoir tanks. And so if this pattern continues, we're going to draw down those reservoir tanks to a critical level. We must, as a community, work together to curb our use and allow these reservoir tanks to catch up. Before I turn my attention to what you can do as our community to help us, I do have a couple of slides here on the status of the repair to the Seattle Public Utilities water supply pipeline. That pipeline is being repaired through a product that's called a flexible liner. Essentially, the liner is pulled through the 24-inch pipe and it's inflated to its full size. We're currently working on fittings this week, and crews will be back on site Monday to complete all of the connections. It does take a little time to, of course, once everything's connected, to disinfect, flush, and complete the water sampling testing, which is absolutely essential to ensure the safety of our water supply. We are still anticipating the pipeline will be back online at the end of July. So we're at the end here, nearly at the end of the repair process. We just need a few more weeks of water conservation and everyone working together. These are just two photos, so you have an understanding of the repair that's happening on the main pipeline. That photo on the left is the liner going into the 24-inch pipe, and then on the right, it shows what it looks like when it's inflated. So let's turn our attention now to what you can do to help us immediately reduce water use. Let me begin by mentioning the city stood up a water shortage response strategy. We worked on it in April and May and presented it to the council during that time. We are currently in a voluntary stage. We are asking you to work with us to reduce your daily water use. Given what's transpired in the last 36 to 48 hours, if we cannot work together to reduce our water use, we are quickly moving to a mandatory stage, and that will be rolled out tomorrow if the reservoir levels in the reservoir tanks continue to drop. I'd now like to introduce Mayor Salim Neese to share a little bit about how you can work with the city to avoid a serious water emergency by reducing your water use at home and at your business.
Thanks, Jesse. So with warmer than average weather conditions, water use has spiked significantly in Mercer Island, and this has caused our reservoirs to be depleted faster than they can be refilled. So as islanders, we have to adequately reduce the next 24 hours of water use to avoid mandatory water restrictions and prevent a severe water emergency. What we need you to know now is that there are a number of things that you could be doing to help ensure automatic irrigation systems are turned off where possible. Talk with your landscaping providers about cutting water use, not running sprinklers, water plants in the yards as little as possible and as close to the root balls as possible, and let your lawn go dormant or brown if at all possible. I think everybody knows I'm a roll up your sleeves kind of guy. This is my lawn today, this afternoon. It's on its way to low maintenance mode. Other things that you can do are avoid doing laundry for the next couple of days. I know that my household is going to look forward to that. Minimizing shower water use where possible. Not washing vehicles. You can always leave the island to go to a car wash in a neighboring city that doesn't have the same water constraint that we have. And obviously not refilling swimming pools or hot tubs, any large vessel of water, and turning off water features such as fountains, which in these weather conditions are going to be subject to a lot of evaporation and require constant refilling. So as we are again at a water emergency a year after having our last one, I want to thank everybody for your extra efforts conserving water over the past month. We need your cooperation now as we face the possibility of moving to mandatory water conservation measures. The city will continue to monitor weather forecasts and usage trends to ensure the efficient operation of our water system, and we need you to take additional water conservation actions now to ensure safe water levels for the entire community. This island has come together before to help with conserving water, and I'm confident that we can do it now. And I want to thank you for your ongoing support and cooperation. Everybody can stay updated. You can review all the water conservation updates in the water dashboard posted on the city's Lex Talks page, which is posted on the links there today.
And we'll stop screen sharing there. Thank you for those of you that were able to join us live this evening, and for those that you'll be watching this broadcast recorded later. Although we didn't include a slide, I also want to remind you that the Mercer Island Community Center is open as a cooling shelter during these warm weather days, and we encourage you to drop by. Again, thank you for joining this evening. You can help us by sharing the word about these very important and urgent water conservation requests. Thank you again for your time.